right. Hey, my name's Jerry. Thanks for joining today. We're going to have about 30 minutes, 25 minutes of me talking, a 5-minute Q&A. Lots to cover. I'm going to talk pretty fast. Feel free to throw in questions. We'll take them at the end. Just load them up. And please join in. There's going to be some moments for participation. Use the chat, use emojis. That will be more fun. Participation is great. Fun is great. Let's get at it. So who am I? I'm Jerry Gordonier. That's me. And that's Bones the cat, who will make some appearances today. I've got over 15 years experience designing for complex enterprise domains across healthcare, augmented reality, and ads. I've been at Google for over 7 years, lately serving as a manager for a small but mighty design team in the ad space. Here's more of Bones the Cat. I've attempted to design this presentation using mostly Bones the Cat photos in a presentation about excellence. Nothing felt more excellent than Bones. But what will you get today? Why are you here? So today, I hope you're going to get an understanding of what product excellence means, at least how I define it for my team, discrete tips and tools to activate excellence in your organization, to ensure there's time to explore and align on quality and a few resources, and permission to drive change in your org, with strategies to work with your partners to define a shared understanding of great and good enough. Wow. But to start, what is product excellence? For me, it's building for real people, what they're actually doing and what they care about. Building for all scenarios, those weird states, the cases, errors, emptiness, loading, first-time use. Respecting all of the design craft, interaction, visual, content design, accessibility, internationalization, understanding the whole journey. And creating that culture in your organization to align on what success means, but also have measures so that impact and success is measured against quality of UX. To put it simply, a quote from Google's philosophy page: focus on the user and all else will follow. Sounds nice, but maybe not so easy at times. Hey, pop quiz. So a few questions here. Please raise your hand if this is you. Throw up emojis. Don't be shy. Shy is boring. Make some noise. Who here has released a design only to have it break almost immediately due to a user type, persona, or behavior you didn't account for or understand? See those emojis. Q with the hand. Love it. JS's creepy face. I love that little eyebrow face. Who here has designed or released a product with copy writing that is indecipherable to any human? Dense nonsense copy. Who here has pushed and pulled with engineering, product, and cross-functional partners only to hear, no, we don't have time, that the issue doesn't matter, that your opinion doesn't matter? Who here has felt like giving up on pushing back, just going with the flow? It's too hard to change minds, not even speaking of hearts. Just want to lay down and scream. Well, here's a fun statistic. 4,498,300,000. Does anyone know what this is? Please guess in the chat. What do you think this is, this number? Who will be so bold? John, student loan debt. Time. Q with a classic Q philosophy. No, this is the number of daily arguments between UX and cross-functional partners about quality and timely delivery. Okay. And, you know, these arguments, they happen at startups. It happens at Google. And hey, it's supposed to happen because product is incentivized to move fast, focus on the business. Eng is incentivized to ship fast with minimal bugs. And you're incentivized to defend user needs, to speak up and drive quality. So those tensions are intentional, and they can produce better outcomes if you can navigate them and come to alignment, kind of finding that balance, right? So how do you do that? Let's talk tips and tricks, tools and tidbits to drive change and quality. So here's your roadmap to success. First, you want to invest in a shared understanding of the user. You want to map needs and ownership at your project level so you have time to unsnap the needs of your user. You will design the vision, but you're going to focus on the now and the MVP, those juicy details, so give something for Eng to work with. You're going to become one with Eng, a partner, arguing fervently, but disagreeing and committing, flexible as a reed in Lake Michigan. And as you elevate culture project over project, you can explore broader organizational alignment to a definition of quality and measures that anchor quality. Easy, right? Let's see how. So nothing gets done without a shared understanding of your users and their needs. So you have to carve out time with your friends to talk to users holistically, drive contextual inquiry, leverage those amazing user researchers, or you yourself become the guiding lighthouse of research So here's some guiding, you can even do it at startups. So it ran guerrilla research at Atlassian. At Augmetics, we did a bunch of research. We put all the findings on sticky notes in this ramshackle hallway because that's all the space we had. We'd walk people through it, we'd evolve it, run workshops with partners, create long-lasting artifacts like journey maps, personas, etc., and socialize them, and carve out the time each project to also make sure you're testing the larger questions within a project. But how do you create the time? So this is my favorite thing in the world. This is a UX-led project Gantt chart, or as I call it, the Mega Project Tracker, or MPT. So this is going to let you drive the conversation on what activities make sense, how they flow, interdependencies, can flag if you need something you're not getting, and educate partners on what you need to be successful. I've included a link here with some sort of ramshackle link shortener, but you're welcome to take a copy of this, tailor it, make it your own. How do you use it? Well, at the start of the project, you're going to take a copy, going to map upfront design requirement needs, conversation with stakeholders, research, exploring. You're going to track status. You're going to track the status, what's behind, what's going on, what you can do in parallel from the beginning to design phase, validation to final reviews, through build and iterative bug bashing, team bug bashing, and walkthrough. So everyone knows who's doing what and when. Okay. You can map owners, you can map out of office, because I've had projects, amazing projects, where everyone was successful, but someone was in, Cuba for 3 weeks. Well, they may need a delegator. They're going to swoop back in and change your jam, right? It's also a way to explore what activities, to show your leadership, to align on what's happening. And if things do go awry, it's a record that kind of protects how you were approaching the project, what you did, what was and wasn't delivered, and things like that. So of course, planning is great, but you also need to deliver the designs. And there's probably a whole nother presentation I could give on the best ways to spec and socialize designs to drive quality. But for now, we're just going to talk about the balance of sort of vision and MVP, right? There's a lot of these images, like on the left side here, of how to think about, MVP to future design. You build a wheel out of the car, or kind of a skateboard of the car. Throughout all these images, I think the most important thing for me, for my designers, is that you do start by first looking at where something wants to go. This is helpful for engineers to think about how they're going to kind of bake out the databases and the structures of the code. It's helpful to get people excited about the investment, the potential, and maybe there's some even wow items from that future you can bring into that MVP, right? So even though you're starting with the future to a degree, you're focusing and delivering designs that are buildable now, and maybe just a little bit farther forward, and that you have the spec there for all those states. You're writing down your assumptions. I will note this picture of Bones in the scratching post has nothing to do with this slide, but I just thought it was great, so I've included it here. Now, design is only as good as it realizes itself in the code, okay? Engineers will hide from you. They will often unintentionally hide from you, plugged into the code. They're in their ethereal plane, making the magic happen. So the obligation on you is to make yourself visible. You want to ask weekly. You want to be around their desks. If teams are complaining you're around too much, you're a little too noisy, I love that. That's a good problem to have. Okay. You need to educate yourself on the technical frameworks. You need to be their shadow. You need to be in the paper of the code. Okay. Get curious, build your own stuff, right? You need to have a shared sort of sense of understanding. And in addition to you walking through these things with Eng, don't be afraid to set walkthroughs with the larger team. Like, build quality should also be the responsibility of your PM partners, of leadership, and things like that. So have those important milestones. And before you get to those milestones, you want to have one place to track all the issues you find. A Google Doc is welcome. Hey, shout out to Google Docs. They're flexible. You have a table, who reported it, what was the issue, screenshot. You have a priority. A simple priority system is P0 is like blocking any release. P1 is functionally impacting. P2 is everything else, the pixels, the little visual stuff, right? Some copy. Okay. But there's some priority, there's something tracked. Even as engineering may make multiple bugs from this stuff, they may, put it in a hat, put it on a sticky note on their desk. You have one place for the whole team to track what's going on, what's fixed, what's still open, who's responsible for it. And you can use this when both as an artifact for your leadership, again, in driving quality. You can use it when you're walking through with leadership in terms of what's already been found and worked on, and show this great work from the team. And ultimately, it's simple enough that you can kind of flexibly adjust it and focus on the highest priority items. Just other notes here. Obviously, when you're doing your testing, you want to have that one design source of truth, Figma or a deck or whatever. You want to test edge cases and make sure that you're establishing principles for your testers and your engineers so that they can, actively and appropriately test. So if you have a minimum screen size, it's established. If you have real data, it's established, right? And of course, engineers, product partners may also hide from you intentionally if you're making life harder. So it goes to repeating that you want to be flexible. And as you know, I've become more senior over the years, I find that a lot of strongly held opinions I had, I was wrong. There was actually other factors at play. In the world, there's Yanny versus Laurel, there's the color of the dress, there's Bones versus Juju, the cat, which is cuter. These are unknowable, right? So you actually have to pick your battles. Obviously, working with your partners is going to be a marathon, not a sprint. So even if you win a battle, a hard fought battle, but it comes at a cost of your team partnership, in the long run, that's going to be worse for you, but also for your users, right? You want to kind of build that trust by being negotiable. I like the tracking of issues and having a deck of truth and a timeline of truth, because if you disagree, at least there's a sentiment around what was agreed to, and you can go back there and kind of retro with the team later to learn. Ultimately, while you focus and fight for the items that matter, once something is decided, you want to disagree and commit. So as you grow over time, project over project, and you hold that quality bar high, people will notice. So you're going to start from a place of sort of confusion and ambiguity. Is it my role to drive quality? How do I do it? Hopefully some of the tips and tools here. You start to get at those bugs. You're working with Eng. PM and Eng identify you as a proactive partner during that last mile. Then you start to open up this door of leadership at a higher level, in my opinion. Something that is phenomenal at our team at Google is that we use customer satisfaction as a foundational metric for every single project. So while you're kind of developing this shared language about quality and approach to projects, finding actual metrics to tie in and getting alignment across the organization about how those metrics can anchor success, and also exploring how it drives business impact, because there are great studies out there around that, can help make sure that everybody sees as a sort of an instrumental part of the workflow, and things won't get launched without working on and solving some of those user impacting issues. And from there, with that, you have the ability to get that seat at the table, right? That you can talk, UX as a foundational owner of quality when the organization recognizes it as a high value metric for these projects, enables you then have that seat at the table to have those discussions. We won't get into it here, but other great exercises for measuring and exploring quality are things like retrospectives, which I do encourage teams to run, and we'll talk in a minute about how to run those, and pre-mortems, which is kind of a unique one you don't see run often, but before a project is launched, kind of exploring all the things that could go wrong and wearing that hat a little bit with the team. Ultimately, through all this work, you're driving business impact, you're elevating the role of UX beyond pixel pushers to people that are really setting the stage for how an organization should run. So if you're interested in learning a bit more, so for having tough conversations in a productive way, there's no better book, I think, than Radical Candor, which talks both tactically about how to do this, but also philosophically about why this is actually more empathetic than dodging, hard to have conversations. I really love, I don't have a link here, the Atlassian Playbook, which I helped establish some years ago. There's a set of plays within this resource, structured meetings, a set of both ways to structure meetings and user-centric artifacts to help have better conversations. Um, things like retros and pre-mortems, some of the sort of, we didn't get into the detail, but more project management oriented things like RACI and DACI models about how you approach and anchor different stakeholders in understanding who needs to be involved in a project, which is great. And then if you're interested in going deeper or having me present this to your own team, please do reach out. I'm happy to chat more. Um, this is something I'm really passionate about, sort of making sure that UX has the tools and resources to not just be responsive to the way an organization wants to run, but really drive those conversations and anchor the structure of impact and things like that. So we're a little ahead on time. I think I got a little speedy with myself with all the coffee I had, but I'd love to take some questions, anything top of mind, and we could go a bit deeper there.